Whether it's bad planning, bad luck, bad timing, or bad inventions, well-intentioned bad decisions have plagued history for thousands of years. Welcome to Historic Hindsight. Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we are going down to the Elite 8 of the world's worst person bracket.
That's right, Johnny, the Elite 8 of the world's worst person. I decided to change things up a little bit for this episode, so instead of, repeating everybody's resume over and over again, I did some diving, and I found some fun facts for all the characters here to give a flavor of their personality, a flavor of what they may have done to kind of sway us one way or the other.
So we did basically a general overview, high school textbook type review. Now we're going to deep dive into some more specifics of how awful they were, or
just odd facts. Some are more specifics than how awful they are, and I don't know if I would use the word deep dive here. I did a very quick Google search on random facts.
Little skim in the kiddie pool.
And since it comes from the Google, you know it's 100% accurate.
I mean, you're not allowed to lie on the internet. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, everybody knows that. All right, so our very first matchup in the Western bracket, Johnny, is Adolf Hitler versus Leopold II. Now, everybody knows Adolf. Come on, we all know Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, Adolf Hitler. You don't need any reminders. If you do,
of who he is.
Get out of here.
So one of the fun facts I found out about him is, Johnny, that he's a vegetarian and a health nut, but also loved his amphetamines and opioids. So on one hand, he's all like, nothing goes in this body but vegetables. On the other hand, and methamphetamine.
Well, I mean, vegetables for, the sake of the animals and health. Amphetamines for the fun of it, probably.
Well, it was more... like, he would take the opioids to cut out the pain, which would, of course, make him fall asleep at night. And the amphetamine, that's just to amp him back up in the morning to keep him going. And if it's
a
good enough
nightcap
for
and coffee.
Yes, nightcap and coffee. And if it's good enough for the German soldiers, then it's definitely good enough for him. Big drug addict. In fact, had he not put a bullet in his own head, he likely would have died of a heart attack, given the regimen of opioids and amphetamines that he was on. One of the other fun facts I found is that he would remove crucifixes from Catholic schools and have them replaced with his face in an attempt to replace religion altogether and put himself as God of Germany. That's not narcissistic.
It's also not very Christian of him.
No, and I'm surprised the Catholics were, cool with that. Usually they're pretty, our crucifixes are... Okay.
Did they have an option?
No, not really, no. No, and you have to remember, in Germany at this time, there's still a very large Catholic population because they used to be the Holy Roman Empire, there's still a large Roman Catholic population there as well. Speaking of Roman Catholics, he attempted to kidnap Pope Pius XII, and then the plan here, Johnny, and it's an odd one.
He was going to send himself?
Yeah, he was going to capture the Pope. This is, again, a part of his whole, trying to get rid of all religion in the guise to make himself a god.
Right.
He was going to capture the Pope by sending a group of Germans in first, an elite group of SS. They were going to go in there, they were going to take over the Vatican and capture the Pope. He was then going to send a second group of even better Germans to go in there and kill the first group of Germans, claiming that the first group of Germans were actually Italian spies that were sent there to kill the Pope, and then he was going to kill the Pope in the crossfire. Wink!
Wow. That's amazing.
That was his plan?
That's backyard capture the flag type plan.
Just weird, I'm going to send this group of Germans in first, and then I'm going to kill my own people.
Right.
Because they're Italian assassins.
Well, we established that he does not have a problem killing his own people, so this is
I also have to remind you that Italy is an ally of Germany at this point as well. so
he's also making their allies.
So he's not his own allies' territory.
Yeah, and then blaming it on them.
On them, yeah.
And then being
although, to be fair,
none of that that doesn't make any sense.
Mussolini was not a great ally and caused the Nazis a little bit more problems than he was worth. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
And he also we tend to forget, like when we talk about the genocide of all the awfulness of Hitler, we talk about the
Right.
genocide a lot. But we forget the art genocide that he did, where he went through and anything that wasn't German was burned. You know, books were burned, art was burned. He went on this massive collection of art across the world to make it the German art, and then would destroy what he didn't like. Or in the process of capturing everything, a lot of stuff got lost in the war. So thousands upon thousands of years of history are lost from this guy. Before the war started, when he started the whole book burning campaign, he was trying to show the German people that, look, I'm not trying to restrict what you can like and what you can't like. I'm going to show you that what the modern art movement is shit, and the German way is the German way. So he held this huge art gallery called the Degenerate Art Gallery, which was all modern art, all the stuff that you weren't supposed to like.
Right.
It backfired, and everybody loved it. They're like, "This is the greatest stuff ever!"
Yeah,
and then
of course they did.
and then he had his Aryan-approved exhibit called the Great German Art Exhibition, which flopped horribly. Like,
Just like
nobody.
like portraits of war heroes or something.
Yeah,
like,
it's like all your it's like your Mona Lisa stuff. It's that
Right.
It's that art renaissance, like the realistic impressionism
Yeah.
stuff or whatever. Like I'm not an artist. I don't know what genre, but
Yeah.
it's the stuff
bunch of
Michelangelo
bunch of
was
babies
painting.
flying around with their dicks out.
It's that stuff.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, I like cubism. Which
It's
are
actually
people-
kind of
it looks a little-
interesting. I don't
it
know.
looks
It's
different.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen that painting a billion times. Not this one. This one's different.
it's zesty. I like
give
it.
give me more of that. No, you're not supposed to like different. That's bad. That's the opposite of what we're going for in Germany in 1940, whatever it was.
Well,
Didn't
I think
really
it was
have
around
that.
30. I think it
30s.
was more like late 30s when this was going
Okay.
on. Yeah, like around 37, 38. So those are the 4 fun facts I found about Adolf Hitler. He is going up against Leopold II. If you don't remember Leopold II, he is the Belgian king who took over the Congo and raped the Congo. Just
Yeah.
took all the resources, killed all the people. Fun, fun, fun. His first marriage was an arranged marriage to Henrietta, and he was so bad to her that she wrote a letter home to her mother, and I quote, "I am very unhappy, and I pray that I may be dead as soon as possible." She did not get her wish, but her first child would die in childbirth, so I guess she cursed her firstborn son.
He's like,
And
oh,
only-
why
only-
couldn't it have been me? It's either the mother or the child. Pick me instead next time.
The rubber that Leopold II collected in the Congo was nicknamed red rubber across the world because it referenced his butchery.
Yeah, because of the blood.
Yeah, the whole blood diamond thing. Yeah, he's precursing the blood diamond with the blood rubber.
With the blood rubber. Doesn't have the same ring to it, but
Doesn't quite.
every bit as
by-
devastating to the local population.
By the way, another fun fact is nearly half the Congo population was estimated to be killed under his brutal rule for rubber and ivory. And by the way, we might be wondering, like, who gives a shit about rubber? Yeah, bicycles had just been invented. The automobile was being invented. Like, rubber was now all of a sudden a thing that was like, oh, we could use these for tires on these, all these newfangled contraptions that we need.
Right. Yeah, rubber. Yeah, once they figured out how versatile it was, it's like any new thing. It jumps to everywhere. Any new material is all of a sudden people figure out they can mass produce it and then use it for anything.
Yep. Now his money that he would collect from the Congo from these rubber exploits and these ivory exploits. This is my 4th fun fact for him. He utilized to build Brussels into what he wanted as Little Paris.
Wait, he didn't use the money he was getting from the Congo to build up the infrastructure of the Congo and like provide schools and hospitals and things like that for the people in the Congo, and he just took it.
What kind of communist propaganda are you spewing, Johnny? He said he was going to improve the Congo people by like.
That's
bringing
what
them up to
that's
modern
what I'm
standards.
saying. Like,
But no, he actually just took the money and tried to turn Brussels into Little Paris and built a ton of new infrastructure and buildings, which gets him the name the Building King in Belgium, which is why, like, in Belgium, like, he's not always
so
known as a bad guy. He's like, well, he built a lot of cool shit. So,
well, guys, listen, I know he just decimated an entire country's population and raped them for generations, but you see these buildings over here?
we got a mini Eiffel Tower. Come on now. Little Paris, buddy.
Pretty sweet. I mean, imagine the tourism dollars that's going to bring. You know, all those people displaced in the Congo can come here, and then see this cool stuff. It works out.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all. This isn't a hard competition, Johnny. Hitler's got to go on. I mean,
I
Leopold was.
guess.
He
Yeah,
has to.
I know. Leopold was
Spoiler
a
alert!
dick,
I really
though.
don't. I really don't think Hitler's gonna make it to the finals.
Well, see, I could probably, I could make some arguments against him here, but I think it's just.
All right, well, make your arguments. Let's
Well,
make
no,
your
I
arguments.
think it's just, if you're gonna include all of the World War II stuff, then there's no argument. If you're gonna give him all those deaths, we can't do that. But if we're just talking about the things he did, like directly impacted
The
Holocaust stuff,
itself.
yeah, Holocaust and all that stuff. I don't know what the population of the Congo was.
Not 6 million, Johnny.
No, it was smaller
No.
than I guess.
And that was 6 million Jews. Like gassing
The numbers and
people
everything,
like
yeah.
in wholesale. Like I think that's got to be a little bit worse than
Right.
just working somebody to death, which Hitler did too. I mean,
Right.
Mach Fry.
Yeah, that's true. And
I get your sentiment though, like because everybody's like, anytime you see anybody evil or bad, you're like, oh, that's Hitler. Our president's
but
Hitler.
also
And-
the reasoning behind it, because we're looking for the world's worst person, not the person who did the world's worst things.
yes, true.
And but while you have to take into account how bad everything he did was, he was still in his sick, twisted mind trying to make at least Germany a better place.
Which he failed.
Yes.
It did. I don't
Yep.
care about
Did not do
what
that.
arguments you want to make about how, they were doing okay before the war. It doesn't matter what was going on before. Like, what's the end picture here? What was the
Yeah.
end result? It was very, very bad for the German people.
Yeah. But then, Leopold also came back and built up Brussels and did stuff for his country. So same type of deal there. So yeah, I think you're right. I think Hitler goes on.
Hitler
the-
goes
to the
on
Final
to the
Four.
semifinal. To the semifinals. Our
All
next
right.
round, Johnny, this will be your favorite. And this one's going to be hard because your favorite is facing up against my favorite. So this is going to be a tough battle here. We've got Christopher Columbus versus Nero.
Oh God.
Boy. Fun facts time.
This is tough.
So, Christopher Columbus, if you didn't watch our episode on shenanigans, which I'll put a link at the end here, I think, he would use the lunar eclipse to convince the natives that he was a god to elicit their help.
Yeah.
So he gets stranded on an island, starving. The native people are like, yeah, we're not helping you anymore because you're kind of an ass. And he said, listen, you don't want to do that because God's going to be pissed if you do. And then he uses the lunar eclipse to say, look what I can do.
Yeah.
The moon is red and black now. You all follow me. And it worked.
The timing of that spectacular.
Yeah, like
Everything. He had to have just been giddy when he found out when the lunar eclipse was. Like, really? Like, just right around the. Are you serious? Oh, this is perfect. Holy shit. God sure is smiling on me and my people because it doesn't matter if I just destroy all of these.
Yeah, pretty much. The Spanish settlers under Columbus would sell their 9 and 10-year-old kids into sex slavery, which he admitted in a letter to the Queen where he said, and I quote, there are plenty of dealers who go about looking for girls, those from 9 to 10, that are now in demand, and for all ages a good price must be paid. This is a dude writing to his boss saying, yeah, I'm letting my people just sell 9 and 10-year-old girls into sex slavery. We get a good price. Like, he's bragging about this shit.
And you
Johnny's
think
speechless.
this is going to be a competition? Like, I can't.
Yes, I think it's going to be a competition, Johnny, because wait till you hear all the crap I found out about Nero, although
Oh, my God.
some of it's just reiteration of the last episode, but I'm going to argue for Nero.
All right.
All right, our next fun fact with Columbus is when Spanish settlers and himself couldn't be bothered to untie their captives, they had a habit of just beheading them. Like, I can't be bothered to untie Tito over here. Off with his head! What logic does that make?
How does that help anything? What?
Well, I just have to untie him now, I guess.
But
I
what
don't.
do you,
The
now
silence is there. I don't know.
you have to deal with the body though. Then, like they just don't deal with it. Just that's it. It's just there.
That was, I guess. By the by, the final fact I had is he was actually ordered by the King and Queen of Spain to abstain from doing any of the inhabitants any injuries. Kind of ignored that one, didn't he? He would
I
actually
mean,
be a.
but the thing is, the king and queen told him that with a nudge.
They had to have. Well, they did
Like,
arrest
they
him.
know
Now,
they were doing.
they did arrest him for his acts in Haiti.
And then what?
They did bring him back to Spain,
And then
and
what?
then they sent him right back and funded his fourth voyage because damn that sweet sweet gold.
Oh, it's so good. And there's so much of it. And it's so easy to come by. The people just give it to you. And if
Well,
not, you cut off their hands or kill them.
yeah, or just get too tired to untie him. We'll just lob their heads off. He's facing off against Nero. If you don't remember Nero, he is a Roman, whatever that is, god. Not a god, but you know, he's the Caesar.
Demigod.
He is the dictator. He is the head honcho. He and this is a random fun fact. He instituted a P tax, Johnny. You heard me right. A P tax.
Like,
because
peas the food because they were importing so many.
No, P
No.
as in urine, because apparently urine was a valuable cleaning agent and was even used to brush your teeth in ancient Rome.
People urine or horse, like camel
No,
or horse
no,
or like.
people urine.
'Cause I
The
know
tax-
in India they use is like cow urine. It's like a ritualistic, so it's not related to that.
No, this is specifically
Just
aimed
people.
at owners of public restrooms. When the toilets are full, they get a levy tax on them because that's sweet. Because they were taking that pee and selling it for toothpaste. Not so much an evil thing, just
Rome,
as much as it is a random.
I mean,
funny...
Rome. What a time to be alive.
Rome.
You could brush your teeth with urine and get all ready for the great big party that Nero's gonna throw and go and enjoy the
Where
light
you
from
know,
the burning bodies on the
there you go.
side.
There you go. You can't forget about that. The burning bodies. The great halls illuminated by the burning Christians.
Oh my god.
He liked to roleplay Johnny, and he would go around town dressed in various disguises and act on stage, which, by the way, acting in Rome at this point was considered... they liked the arts, but if you were an artist, you were like the lowest level. Like, you were just above slave. So,
Yeah,
for...
they were there to entertain, and that was about it. Like,
Yeah, so for the emperor to go around being an actor, it was, like, disgraceful.
right.
But he did it anyways. Specifically, he loved to dress in women's clothing and act as a woman. Not saying that there's anything wrong with that in modern times, but he did like to play that part.
I mean, we've seen that he is a sexual deviant. Not that dressing
I
up
mean,
in women's clothes is, but like he's out there with his sexuality and things that I guess most of these are kind of sexual when you know, make a little boy be your wife or whatever he did.
Speaking of that, what he did it a couple of times because in one instance he wanted to play the part of a bride, so he got a slave boy, married the slave boy, and he played the part of the bride, including formal wedding dress, formal traditional bedding ceremony, where he invited everybody to come watch him consummate this wedding, or I guess have him be consummated by the slave boy. So, odd.
Wow. All right. So he was into a lot of different things. Like
He was. And of course, we cannot forget, Johnny, that he would stomp his pregnant wife to death
right, yeah.
while she was pregnant. He would then take her and get her taxidermied so that her body would be on display. He would then run around dressing in her clothing, acting as her in plays, because we got to do that.
Yeah,
he would then find another slave boy that looked like her, cut off his man bits, and make him dress as her, call him by her name, marry her, and then openly fondle her genitals in public in front of everybody, and make everybody around them pretend like she is the queen, and you know, nothing ever happened. I didn't curb stomp my wife to death. It didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. So just totally batshit insane.
Yeah, he's totally batshit insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Nero.
That is why Columbus is worse.
Because Columbus wasn't batshit insane.
Because he wasn't batshit insane doing stuff. Nero was nuts and awful and horrible. But it can be excused and explained because he obviously at some point just snapped.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can...
Columbus continues actual genocide. Tom,
okay.
successful genocide.
He had a successful genocide of Christians in Rome.
I'm sorry, there's no more Christians in Rome?
Well, all right, listen. I guess he wasn't super successful. He did kill a ton of Christians. I mean, I can't. Look, I'm going to let you have Columbus because I do think Columbus is worse. But I cannot stress enough, this guy.
Oh, we have to do.
He
deserves his own
and
episode.
Burned this guy alive. Like he burned everybody. Like
he deserves an episode.
Yeah,
we need a deep dive into Nero's life.
He'll have an episode because he's an awful human being that deserves it. If he was given to any if I put Nero above Hitler or against Hitler, I would have put Nero winning against Hitler.
I think Columbus will too, but that's the semifinal matchup.
That's the semifinal.
We'll go through that next week, right?
Yep. Our Elite Four over on the eastern side, we have Joseph Stalin versus Vlad the Impaler. Also a very awful episode for me because I like both these guys.
Yeah.
So, although I already know who's winning. This really isn't that hard. But for the sake of the game, some fun 4 facts I found about Stalin. Actually, I got 5 facts here. Ooh, I gave Stalin an extra one. Well, that's about right. He is the head of the Communist Party, so he does get extra from everybody, right?
Right. He deserves it.
He was the original user of Snapchat filters, Johnny. And by this, I mean he would have his pictures airbrushed and edited to remove all of his smallpox scars. Pompous much? I mean, you're supposed to be the people's people, and you're so vain that you have to have your smallpox scars removed from all your photographs?
That shit's not easy to do back in the day.
No, not back then it wasn't. No. It's not like we have nowadays.
They're fucking up, like with film that they have to do this stuff too and then print. Like, that's nuts.
Yeah. You all know that mom on the Facebook that's using these filters, that she's like, that older mom that's like in her 40s or 50s, but she keeps using the filters to excess.
I'm not sure
like she's 20.
who your friend was.
I'm talking specifically to my wife at home because she knows who I'm talking about. She'll get this. Not that she'll actually watch this episode, but she'll get it. And I'm sure most of you people at home know, there's those people that use Snapchat filters to make them look. And then you see them in real life and you're like, oh, did you
not the same?
Did you not wake up on the right side of the bed today or have enough time to put the makeup on? What's going on with you?
And they're like, no, step up onto this stool over here and look down at me from this angle. Look amazing.
This is my funnest fact I think I found out about him. He attempted to splice human and ape genes together to create super soldiers.
Yes.
What?
Okay. I applaud him. Why haven't this is something, so we know like how evolution and behavioral evolution and everything, like we know how all this sort of stuff works. Why have we not started breeding and educating like a pack of gorillas to make these super strong, like why aren't we taking the great apes and trying to evolve them up to be like co-inhabitant with us? I mean, I know there's that whole thing of like we can't even stand people that are different colors than us of our own race. How are we going to assimilate multiple other races? But I feel like it'd give us a common enemy. Like they could be second class, like
Johnny,
do the work for us.
Do you know how the other day you were asking me that like what's a movie that you need to see that everybody's seen that you should see? Yeah, there's a series about this called Planet of the Apes, Johnny.
Yeah?
Probably should go watch it. It's
Does it
kind
work
of
out?
the reason why. Well, it works out for the apes.
Is it because they're so much bigger and stronger than us?
To be fair, though, for those at home, I didn't grow up on the original ones because, I'm old, but I'm not that old.
Right.
And I have watched them; they're good. But the remakes, not the one with the Marky Mark, but the newer remakes are pretty good. There's a remake.
There's
with Marky
multiple
Mark.
new remakes of this.
Yeah, there's a one-off movie, Planet of the Apes, with Marky Mark in it, and it was not great.
Okay, and then somebody else did redid it just from scratch, not as a part of that.
Yeah. Franco's in the new one, James Franco. So, or at least in one of the new ones. I think he's the first one. They're good, yeah. And they essentially do that. They up the smartness of some monkeys, and it doesn't go well for humans.
Well, it is just a movie, so still worth a shot.
Still worth a shot.
How did it go with Stalin? Was he successful?
No, not successful. And there's speculation as to how seriously he was involved in this, but there are actual scientists that have come forward and said, "Yep, we worked on this project." When he was in his 30s, he got a 13-year-old girl pregnant during one of his 7 exiles. So you heard me right, Johnny. 7 exiles. He was so popular in Russia that he was exiled 7 times.
Do people not understand how exiles work? Like, isn't it supposed to be like to never
forever?
return? Like, you're gone. You're
Yeah.
exiled. Like,
Yeah, that
is
doesn't
that not
work.
what the definition is? Am I wrong here?
Apparently not. It didn't work for him, and it didn't work for the Napoleon. But we're missing the point here. He at 30, he got a 13-year-old girl pregnant.
Yeah, there's that.
You know, even by those standards back then.
Yeah, it wasn't acceptable.
That wasn't couth. He tried to have John
She
Wayne
should have been impregnated by her 22-year-old husband.
Yeah, exactly.
That she was
exactly.
promised to.
Yeah, 30's too old. 30's too old. He would try to have John Wayne executed for making anti-communist comments, which is hilarious because Stalin loved like American westerns, and then his heart was broken when John Wayne's like, "Oh, these communists can't have them."
But so he probably just tried to have him arrested. He's like, all right, well, I'm still gonna meet him, so maybe I can like get him arrested and like have him over.
Bring
and,
him
like,
over here.
We'll put him in the good prison, and he can do like little western plays for me. We'll just set up a little thing. We can play cowboys.
You might not be that far off. Now his autopsy, and this is where he's going to lose some points. His autopsy showed that he had plaque buildup in his brain, which would have caused dementia. So a lot of his evil shit and paranoia was just dementia.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all of his great purges where he's like, "They're out to get me," and he killed them all. That kind of makes sense.
It was all just because he had like voices in his head or something in his brain that was.
Yeah, the plaque buildup in his brain. Yeah. Now, one of his fun quotes is he said that I don't trust anyone, not even myself. So, well, yeah, if you're insane, I guess that makes sense.
That's like a Dwight Schrute quote.
He is Johnny. He's facing off against Vlad the Impaler, my favorite of the East Side, at least. Vlad. When the Ottomans sent a detail of men to Wallachia, he would have their turbans nailed to their heads when they refused to take them off. So, this group of Ottomans came into Wallachia, peaceful, like they were like, "Hey, emissaries.
Hey guys, how we doing?"
And he's like, "Hey, you need to take your hats off in my presence." And they're like, "Oh no, you don't. No offense, but like these are religious. We don't take them off for anybody." Oh, well, in that case, let me make sure they don't fall off. Nail them on your head.
He might have had like an anger issue. I think. I think he might have
a little.
I think he could have benefited from meditation and maybe talking to a therapist or something.
At least a nap,
Maybe something.
Here, have a
Maybe he needed a Snickers.
Stories were circulated about him literally washing his hands in the blood of his enemies. And this is a bad one. You know that when we talked about the women that would have premarital relations?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, if they got pregnant and had the baby out of wedlock, he would impale the mother with the baby attached to the mother's breast and impale them both. So, rough. He paid a little less evil. He paid sick people to go into the Ottoman camps and spread their diseases. So he would go around.
Yeah.
Oh, you have the plague?
That's good.
Here's 10 pence. Why don't you go over there and lick that pole?
Go cough on some people.
And this is my favorite. He had a massive golden cup made, put it in the center of town square in Wallachia, and anyone was free to take it or have a drink out of it, but you weren't free then to leave the town square. So this was just him flexing his power muscle of, here's this valuable thing in the center of town square.
Yeah.
Anybody can take it. Go ahead and take it. If you take it, you're going to die. And his reputation was so horrendous that everyone was like, nope.
I know no one even tried.
I'm not gonna mess.
Like
with
if it was it one of those things where they're like, I could take it, and then if I get out of Times Square, I'm good. Was it a game?
I think it was more of, you can take it, but you're not gonna get
But
Times Square. You can try,
you. Yeah,
but you're gonna get impaled with a spike up your butthole.
That's a little less Hunger Gamesy.
Yeah, it wasn't so much Hunger Games. I don't know about you, Johnny, but for me, it's Vlad the Impaler.
I mean, that's Vlad. Yeah,
he
impaled human beings on spikes.
Yeah, for fun. For actually not even for fun, with
No.
the intention, the explicit intention of I want people to know I did this so that
Yeah.
they fear me.
So that they know how bad of a man I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad for me. That's
And this one is a gimme round to a certain individual here because well, luck of the draw. He got the easy seed. We've got Genghis Khan versus Charles Taylor, aka the president of Liberia, who's also by default has to lose because he's still alive. And we made a rule that no alive people can really be on this list. But
he wasn't getting through Genghis Khan.
He's not. There's no way. But
oh my God, Genghis Khan, Attila the Hun.
That was a bad.
All right, let's get our fun facts anyway. Or
yeah,
not. I meant Genghis Khan of Vlad the Impaler.
Vlad the Impaler. That's gonna be that's gonna be a rough one next week. So we've got Charles Taylor, president of Liberia. I'm just going to run down a list of his career, like how he started his career, so you get a little bit of background information about him, so you know how awful a human being still exists today and is in prison. He starts his career as a good human would by working under Samuel Doe in Liberia. Samuel Doe takes over Liberia in a coup, which was oh so peaceful.
I mean, I feel like has Liberia had anybody in power that didn't get there via a coup? Ever?
I mean, technically speaking, Charles Taylor got elected. We'll get there. So in 1983, he would actually flee from Liberia to the United States because he was accused of stealing $900,000 from the Liberian government.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
Oops. He would be arrested in Boston, where he would escape jail and flee to Mexico, then Libya, where Gaddafi gives him asylum. So, yeah, the Gaddafi that we just killed as Americans a little bit ago.
Yeah. I don't understand how people escape jail so frequently.
Yeah, well, I do. It probably has something to do with that $900,000.
Yeah. You mean that $875,000?
Yeah, exactly. He would then form the National Patriotic Front of Liberia in Libya. That was his children's soldier army that he would then take to start a civil war in Liberia, killing 150,000 people. Killing 150,000 people and displacing half the population of Liberia. So, way to go. Yeah. He is elected president in 1997 under the slogan campaign, "He killed my ma, he killed my pa, but I'm going to vote for him anyways."
But I don't want to die, so I guess he's got my vote.
I mean, you think American politics are bad? Go, hi-oh. In 1997, though, pretty much instantly after being elected, rebels would start fighting back against his regime. In 2003, it got so bad that Bush asked him to step. By so bad, I mean he was murdering people that were opposing him.
Yeah.
In 2003, George W. Bush, asked him to step down politely for the good of the Liberian people, which surprisingly he does. He's like, George W. has told me to step down?
Like, oh, shit, all right. Well, I guess.
If this guy's telling me to step down, I better do it. And immediately Interpol orders an arrest warrant, and he gets arrested and charged on war crimes and convicted, and that's where he is today.
Yeah.
He faces Genghis Khan.
Well done.
He faces Genghis Khan. I got some 4 little fun facts about him. His reputation in history was so powerful that the Soviet Union tried to snuff it out. They banned mentioning his name and forbade schools to teach about him at all for fear of Mongolian nationalism. So you have to remember the Soviet Union. What was Mongolia is now incorporated in the Soviet Union. And we can't have somebody worshiping Genghis Khan over Stalin. We can't have that shit.
Right.
In fact, this was still, on the books, illegal to teach about Genghis Khan in the Soviet Union until 1990s when the Soviet Union collapsed. So finally now, in Russia you can learn about.
Now they can learn all about.
But not before
who they're
the
related
1990s.
To directly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yep. In one instance, this is awful. In one instance, he had molten silver poured into the ears and eyes of his enemy.
Oh, yeah.
That's rough.
Because they stole silver, right? He would do that when people would steal.
Yeah.
Because he'd do that with different metals.
Yeah. Yes. Part of it was for stealing, and another part of it was, he ordered that no noble blood would be spilled, Johnny. And by that, he meant literally no noble blood would be spilled. Not that the nobles wouldn't die, but you
Right.
can't spill their blood. So he came up with creative ways to kill
Huh.
them that didn't involve stabbing or beheading or that kind of stuff, such as pouring molten
Molten
silver
metal.
into their ears.
That'll do it. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that's effective.
I don't think it'll cause much bleeding either. He did also use suffocation, snapping of the necks, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
So
huge.
if you were a noble, that's the one instance where rich privileges is probably not for you.
Yeah, you're
For
like, can
that
you
sake.
please just behead me?
Like it's fine. I give you permission.
Yeah, it'll be all right. Don't worry about it.
And my last favorite fact about him, he liked to take his captured, like he would go in and he would fight enemies and he would capture a bunch of enemies, right, Johnny? He would then take those captured enemies and when fighting a new group of enemies, use them as human shields. So
Oh,
instead of having a shield wall to block the arrows coming in, he would just
just march, buddy.
march in front of me. You are now my human shield.
Uh, what a grand guy.
He's moving forward.
Yeah.
We don't even have to talk about that. All right, guys. So, quick recap: we've got and next week we'll do our semifinals and finals.
Yeah,
together, 'cause otherwise
it'll be the last
way too
episode.
short. Yeah, it'll be the last episode of this.
Finish it up next week.
So next week we'll find out: is the world's worst person Adolf Hitler, Christopher Columbus, Vlad the Impaler, or Genghis Khan?
That's a good Final Four.
The East
That's
matchup
solid.
is going to be a lot worse than the West matchup, I think.
That's
Although
solid,
the West
though.
matchup, man, yeah,
It's tough.
it's gonna be. I'm gonna have to find some. I'm gonna have to do some digging or something, find out how we're gonna like really compare these people. I don't. Other than what
Yeah,
we've already
I
done.
might have to do some research this week.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll find something. So join us next week for that.
All right, that's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week to cap off the bracket to find the world's worst person.